Yo, what's up, guys? Engineering Aquariums coming at you with episode number 7. It's your host, Sean. We're going to be talking about running carbon and GFO on your aquarium, why you might want to do it, things to be careful of when you are using both of those, either of those, and then signs that you might want to use those things. So we're going to be talking first about carbon. Um, Carbon lasts about 1 week in your tank before it should be replaced. That is a very conservative number, but it's always better to be safe than sorry. Um, like it's always better to do a water change than anything else. That's kind of the fix all. But 1 week of carbon, um, it looks like charcoal, kind of ground up. I would show you guys up close, but the only way to get a good view of my tank right now is from my bed. Um, that's the only way to get the camera stable and not have like a super low angle shot where you're just like looking up at it. Um, excuse me. So I would definitely recommend carbon to everyone to use at least once in a while. There's really no downsides to throwing a bag of carbon in your sump for a week every month or 3 months or something. Nothing bad can happen from that unless you like don't rinse your carbon or it's not carbon or it's been used or something disgusting like that. Um, the biggest thing to be worried about is don't use too much of it for too long. You can't really use too little of it for too long, and you can't really use um, or what am I saying? You can't use a very small amount for too long, and you can't use a very large amount for just a short amount of time and have it negatively impact your aquarium. If your corals start losing color, it's because it's stripping the trace elements out of your aquarium. And especially if you're not dosing those, I probably wouldn't recommend running carbon all the time. I'll be running a very, very, very small amount of carbon at all times through a reactor. The reactor will also probably have some mechanical media in it or filtration or something. Um, just because I'm not liking most of the mechanical filtration out there. We'll get into that in the next few videos. Um, but yeah, running a little bit for a long time is not really an issue unless you see some bleaching and then either use less carbon or take it out for a while. The biggest thing is don't let it tumble and then don't like grind it together when you're rinsing it. Both those create the same effect where it just creates more dust and more small particulates of carbon. Um, Next, going on to GFO. GFO can last about a month. Um, it kind of depends on how much of it you're using for how much phosphate, though. GFO, for those who don't know, I probably should have said this. Carbon removes yellow pigments and negative things in your tank. Any cleaning supplies that get in the air, any soap that was on your hands that you were unable to get off, anything that was even like on your face or in your hair, and that just like fell in your tank. I see an occasional hair floating in my tank every once in a while. So if you're using like, I don't know, there's probably something toxic in your shampoo. Um, yeah, so like I said, running a little bit of carbon every once in a while to take that out. It's kind of the same reason why I'm running a even smaller amount of carbon for a longer amount for always. But going on GFO, it takes phosphates out. It's granular foric acid, granular ferric. I couldn't tell you. It looks like rust. It kind of is. Uh, yeah, ferric oxide. There you go. A granular ferric oxide. It's rust. It's granular rust. Only use it when needed. Only use it when your phosphates are high. There's not a ton of research on it or like anecdotal evidence of it being bad if used when not needed. But it is kind of just like a nitrate factory if you don't change it out. So if you're not going to change it out, if you're not going to change carbon out, don't use it. If you're not going to change GFO out, just don't use it. Your tank will suffer more from the nitrate factory that you'll create there than just lowering your phosphate, unless like you're having a breakout and your phosphates are sky high. I'm using a little bit of GFO right now in my reactor mixed with my carbon. So GFO normally needs to tumble to keep it from clogging up. It doesn't grind itself up though, so it's not really an issue with that. But you're supposed to tumble it like kind of really slowly, just to let it make sure it's always moving. or else it becomes a big like cake with what is it? Streamlines running through it, where the water just goes the fastest way without even being pushed through. Um, so you can also do it's a mixed thing. If you just have one reactor, which is what I have, and you're not using a lot, which is what I'm doing, you can mix 2 parts carbon to every 1 part GFO, and mix it up, like actually mix it together and then put it together. And then your carbon won't need to be tumbling because it'll be holding the GFO from caking up. But your, yeah, I mean, that basically covers that. Um, Honestly, I would use a reactor if you can. If you have the manifold, the pump. If you're going with like an all-in-one intake, yeah, just throw it in some bags, put it in the back, it'll be fine. But if you're going with like a sump and a manifold, definitely have just even just a little 5-inch BRS mini reactor, or like a full size one if you have a tank over probably 100 gallons. Um, and that'll, I mean, that'll do enough as long as your other habits are good, your water changes are good, you're not overfeeding the tank. If you're a refugium, especially, you don't really need GFO. I'm using it because of this thing that we'll go into later when I go into water chemistry. It's the Redfield ratio. It states that for every 106 parts of carbon, of molecular carbon, there is 16 parts of molecular nitrogen to 1 part of molecular phosphorus. And that's based on, that's basically what's in phytoplankton, and phytoplankton is more or less the ocean, like the amount of phytoplankton that's in the ocean, and they're basically made up of water. So this is a pretty good ratio to follow. Of course, if you have 0 nitrates and 0 phosphates, you're still following the ratio. The carbon thing has to do with carbon dosing, which we'll get into later. I might do that, might not. We'll see. But the Redfield ratio is a good good way to keep down cyanobacteria and diatoms, because both of those form when there's an imbalance. Whereas hair algae just kind of forms. There's just a lot of it, a lot of both. But when there's an imbalance in one or the other, cyano or diatoms form, which is why I have diatoms. My phosphates are high, so I'm using GFO right now. Anyway, thanks for watching the whole video. Next, we'll be talking about mechanical filtration. Yeah, so stick around for that video. It'll be coming up next on the playlist. Thank you for everyone who's supporting me. Thank you for all the likes, comments. Drop those. Hit the subscribe button. Answer comments. Ask a question. Answer a question. Let's make this a community learning. Remember, do your reef tank for you. That's what it's there for. Engineer your aquarium for yourself. Peace.